Right. So now Jonas comes and he has to start his work. So Jonas says that very definitely he would have gone to git clone the project or fork the project. Um, we'll go straight to changing the. Let's do the first things first. First, what we want to do is that we want to be able to change product name to change to name. The client doesn't like it. What's product name? I don't like product name. That's because if I click on this copywriting service, I'm seeing product name. I don't want to see product name. I want to see name. So what we do is that we'll first go to this checkout view and we'll just make those changes. Okay, so product name. So you can actually search for it here. Let's see product name. Let's find where it is. If it even exists in this file. So it does. So it's a label. So we just have to move the label name, just make it name. Good. When we are done, we have to show it to the client that we've done the changes. So we've made the first changes. So we'll say that this is done. On our local instance, we don't have an issue if we have to, after doing this, we have to check it out because we will definitely run the application again. But even on your local instance, you could also have Jenkins installed, so you don't have to just go through all this process, but maybe it will be in a different, it will be configured to build differently. Yeah, so just accept that. What's important is that we are getting the principle. So name has been changed. So let's go ahead and do the deployment of this on an app server. We are working on our local server. So we don't know deploy on our local server because the client will not be able to see anything on our local server. We have a server farm, and with that server farm, we can deploy it to the servers that the client can actually have access to because these are bound in our parameter. And there are some services that we can allow the client to have access to, which will not expose our whole infrastructure to um, outsiders. So we want to stay within our context for employees, but for non-employees, we want to restrict them. So we do the deployment on our app server because that's where we have access. So let's actually start our app server. I think it should be up. And we have our automation server. Our automation server is basically the Jenkins server. And I call it automation server or the Jenkins server. And that's a virtual machine instance. So we have our Jenkins pipeline and our app server. So we're going to do the deployment in our app server. So if we are going by the normal or the manual approach, we start building our file. This is packaged as a Java file because it's a Java project and then with that we can deploy it in Java or so if it's going to be deployed as a Java file, all we have to do is that we have to be able to yeah, it's a Java project. It's not I think yeah because of I built it from not that I think I built it from Spring.io. So it just picked it up and I just chose Java. So it knows that it's a Java file. But if not, you can add the packaging here. Yeah, you can just put packaging here and just make it Java. Yeah, you can make it explicit if you don't think you're not seeing it. So just leave it like that. So just packaging is Java. Alright, so what we do now is that uh so yeah, just the news here is let's just do this. Let's just go to start Spring initializer. All right, so once you go ahead and click jar, that's the default in you do explore. You can actually check it's not as great, or sorry, as Maven. That's the build tool we are using. And click explore. You can actually check that it doesn't show the packaging here. All right, so that's just for the new series. But if you go ahead and choose wall, it should show yeah, it shows wall. So by default, it has a implicit packaging format. Just for the DCS, it's not necessary. It's not part of the code film, sorry, but it's necessary. Everything is necessary. So you can go ahead and move this, so you can leave it there. Just leave it there. All right, so it's going to package as jar. So we have to actually now we've done our changes all right. Okay. If we run it as localhost, we should be able to see our changes. So we can run as, or you can debug, like debug as a Java application. Let's debug. Because that's what we're actually doing. All right, so it seems there's already something unknown for 8085. So let's do this. Let's kill the process. Let's kill. Let's see. This website application. This for the website. Let's, yeah, that's what we want to test. So let's kill. I don't want to use a Spring DevTools. I want us to run it. So debug as a Java application. Switch context. Okay, to killer process. So server swap. So server. Um, let's do it again. Okay, it's running. Yeah, it shows it's terminate, resume. It's an issue. Let's check if it's up. Let's just check if it's up. That was 87, if my memory serves me right. Yeah, 1885 sure, yeah. Yeah, so this is sorry. So it's running to so because we didn't change perspective. That's by the way. So let's just go ahead and check if our change is working. So name is showing, which is good. So our first changes is working. So we've been able to check on our local host. And we are okay with that, but we know we're not going to run it on local host. So we have to actually send it to the cloud. Sorry, send it to our app server or the cloud environment if we have one. But to do that, we know that we have to now package this. We have to go ahead and do Maven clean and package just to get it in a jar format so we can actually go and do the deployment. Because we can't carry the whole source project or source code, this directory. It won't be understood by the server. It has to be in a format that the server will understand. And that format is what we have specified over here as jar. So we need this jar file to go to work. And it has to work on the app server. So as it's building all this, we're actually waiting. And this is the manual deployment process we've actually kicked in or we've actually started. And we want to do away with this. So how do we do away with this? We go ahead and we start focusing on our Jenkins server. So we're going to now create our pipeline, have a source, a script that is going to uh, run, or the server is going to take the request, the script request, and it's going to run our application or build our application for us. So that's what we're going to do now. So once we are able to fulfill that, for any other requirement that the end user expects, we are going to just go ahead and add it to the software. It shouldn't be a problem for us because we do not want the end user to think that um, we are not reliable or we can't um, meet his expectations or meet the requirement. So we want to actually go ahead and build the script that will help us to be able to do that. All right. So most of the time when you're actually started, this is a Jenkins documentation. You first want to install Jenkins, and it depends on the environment or how you want to install it. Yeah, so we did the installation on a Linux server, so we already have it running. So you can see that it's running on one of our VMs. Yeah, yeah. So if that's done for you, you to install, you take your time and just go ahead and do the installation. Once that one is done, and you want to get started, you have the guided tool. The guided tool tells you what you need to get started and how to even create your first pipeline. And it's in this that you start getting to know about maybe the Jenkins file, and that's the pipeline, and also other information that you require, and what other processes you want to take. But if you want to um, go deeper, you can decide to say that you go to the pipeline or using a Jenkins file. So you may want to understand pipeline if that's your strategy, because you don't understand pipeline. So you go getting started with pipeline. It covers how to define a Jenkins pipeline. That is in your through that is your pipeline. That's through Blue Ocean, the classical UI or SCM. So we are going the SCM approach because we've explained that SCM is software configuration management, and all these processes are taking place as and when you are developing your application, because the SCM is key. It's good for bookkeeping or record keeping. Just as documentation is made available for this, we need a way of also coordinating all the movement that is taking place with the application whilst the version control is put in place. But the other functions that comes in place. But the key thing is version control. That's software configuration management. All right. And one of the things that also helps is if you heard of this Confluence, Jira, I think it's Atlassian, if I'm right, the Confluence environment, it helps to is very good when it comes to um this record keeping or keeping with for softwares in regards to your project, the direction of the project, regards to um software configuration management. So it's a whole ecosystem on its own. It comes to a suite of tools that you can use for your work. So Jira, Confluence, Trello, it just helps with your organization. It's very powerful. So I don't want to go too much into that, but that's also another um, there's another product that is out there. Yeah. So get everything in regards to service management. We don't go into all this Jira, but it's out there for you. So yeah. So if you are looking at how to um, optimize or how to make a good affect your or improve the efficiency or productivity of your organization's workflow, you want to go with Atlassian products. Yeah. Okay, so that was just by the way. So the SCM approach, we go ahead and do our Jenkins file. You are going to actually set one pipeline here. And after that, you have to start seeing how to use a Jenkins file, because that's what you are going to use. So we looked at how to get started. It's all from the documentation, the links or the hyperlinks, the resources. So we looked at pipeline, refer to the respective pipeline and user sections of the user handbook. So you now go to using a Jenkins file. So that's just one of the ways. So and this gives you a syntax that you can start with. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and create our pipeline. So we have looked at the Jenkins documentation. Right. So we'll go ahead and create a pipeline first. So we'll say new item. Sorry, new item. I didn't want to go back to the dashboard. Then we'll say what item are we creating? We are creating an ads website pipeline, and that's just a normal pipeline. That's a pipeline. And we'll say let's make this. Let's take this higher. So we are creating a pipeline. We click OK. Right, so just describe it. So say this is the pipeline for websites, arts website in SCM's, let's say SCM option. Let's just do like that. Let's keep it simple as that. Then we'll go ahead and then go ahead and configure some stuff. So the first thing is that build triggers. So the build triggers is, as we explained that, we want to be able to deploy the solution as and when we we make commits. And the reason for doing that is, again, is the SCM, because the SCM says that software configuration management, you have to have a way of coordinating or bookkeeping it. So if I do make commits to a repository, let's also have the ability to also go ahead and do the whole deployment, or and also do the CI part of it, especially. So it's boils strictly to the SCM, and the approach we want to go with is with the Git is SCM pooling. And what that this means is that go ahead and ensure that my project is deployed, or my project goes through the SCM process, that the project is being monitored, or there's a good house bookkeeping, record keeping to it. So this trigger means that whenever we do a push to it, we should be able to go ahead and build our software for us. If you're still struggling with SEM, but we want to take your time and read more about SEM from WikiLeaks. So Wiki software, sorry, software. Yeah, so you can really appreciate. It's still showing. Let's go down. I really appreciate it. It says software change and configuration. So that's what it's about: tracking, controlling, as we've explained, bookkeeping. So you may want to spend your time to really dig deeper, but we are just trying to make it more practical. So that's just as we've been explaining. It's the same understanding. Version control. It's more version control. Yeah. So let's just go straight to our Jenkins server, and let's finish what we are doing here. So we'll go with this approach first. Then we want to see how I define our pipeline. We're not going to write the script over here, no. But we want to get the pipeline script from the SCM again. The SCM source is Git. Right, so we have to provide the repository URL. So this is we're actually doing configuration or administration of the pipeline. So the pipeline, we are configuring the Jenkins server to understand the pipeline, to be able to take the pipeline request. So it's just an administration process of it. Yeah. So this is just a repository. We have to provide a repository URL. It's a public server. You don't need credentials. It only knows the master's branch, and then we'll just see the path to the script. You put the script in the folder. You can actually go ahead and indicate the folder. So this is the current directory, and it goes and look for Jenkins and looks for this file. But if it's not in anything, you can actually go ahead and go to the default setting of just a Jenkins file. But if you still want to go, you can add this to it. So this is not this is just not this is just by the way. That's all for you to know. So let's go ahead and add a repository URL. So repository URL is what we already have created. That's the Git remote we're using. So if you still wanted code, then you just copy it here. Right. Then let's slide to Jenkins server. So we are going to the server, we are setting up the server, understand our pipeline. And then no credentials. Everything is fine here. So the script part is Jenkinsfile. So Jenkins wants a way of locating your file from the SCM. That's why it's saying what is the source. That's the source of the pipeline. It's from SCM. All right. So we are just telling that the script part is at Jenkins, because I'm not going to put the Jenkins file in a directory. Someone say, why? I just want to put the file at my root on the class path, because this is my class path. Because if it goes to the repository, it's going to go as this. This is the listed class path source, just as they provided. And when you click on source, you go into the um, project or the source code. If I drop it here, uh, it will just be listed as it is listed because it's on the class path. It's on the class path. If you still doubt, you can actually create. Let's just create a folder, a new folder, and let's keep uh, Jenkins here. And then we'll create a Jenkins. So we have Jenkins directory, and we'll put our pipeline inside our Jenkins directory. All right. So we've been able to actually. So let's change the path here. So say current directory Jenkins. Then go to let's not change too much. So let's just add this this Jenkins, then like this. Right, so we'll go to Jenkins and pick this file. That's the directory. So everything is okay. Did we add our repository URL? It's gone. Let's add it again. Then let's save and apply. And don't worry about this. If you want to discard old bills, if later you can come back and change it. Yeah, but if you want to discard old builds, you don't want to, let's just leave it. So please enter Git repository. We've entered one. Yeah, so we shouldn't have any issues. Everything is supposed to be good. Oh, right. What did I just do? Yeah, that's fine. Let's see what will happen. If it complains, you know that okay, so not we didn't complain. So we have set up a we've not that we've set up a pipeline, but we haven't yet had a request. So we want to now send a file to the server so the server processes it for us and gives us our response. So to be able to do that, what we are going to do is that we have to let GitHub to be able to speak to Jenkins. And the reason is that we've just told the Jenkins server where to find our request. But it doesn't know, it just has, like, example is we know where the file is, we know where we get our file, but how does GitHub send the file to Jenkins? That's another thing. So we have to be able to, GitHub has to be able to speak to Jenkins so that GitHub can actually act as a client to send that request to the Jenkins server. So you now understand why I say Jenkins server. The first time I read it, I was like, Jenkins server. I know, but if you look at it in this also, because every time we think about JSON request, JSON response, but the concept is client server approach. So the GitHub has to be able to initiate a request or send a request to the server. The server should be able to pick the request and process it. So if that's the case, we have to be able to send GitHub has to be able to speak to Jenkins. And the way they will speak is by using a webhook. So use the webhook to talk to Jenkins. Without the webhook, nothing is going to work. So we'll go to settings, then we'll come to webhooks and add a webhook. So before it does it, it allows external services to be notified. So that's what I'm saying. That there has to be a way of communicating when certain events happen. So we just go add webhook. Let me just pick my authentication code from here. Okay, so this goes for us. This helps us to really appreciate for gradually getting to the end of our Codefilm. But before we get to the end, we're actually seeing how setting up all this is one part of getting um, our deployment automated. So we have to actually struggle to do this. Once we get it done once, we don't care again. Now, for us to be repeating the manual deployment to the 100th time and also affecting business productivity and also not being able to meet target goals. and we're not being efficient enough. So we'll give it the URL, the payload, which is I like the way it's labeled here, payload URL, and then we'll just add a webhook. So we have to be able to expose an endpoint. So Jenkins server has an endpoint that you can send a request to. So if you send a request to that endpoint, it takes the request, it processes it. So this is the server, this is the server, and this is the client. So the client has to speak to the server. So it needs the server has an endpoint, and this endpoint has been released by Jenkins. So the Jenkins server needs to take a request from the GitHub, and this time GitHub is the client. So GitHub is speaking to Jenkins. So we need to expose the Jenkins server endpoint to GitHub, and we'll do that using Piggy because it's on a private IP address. You look the IP addresses in the yeah, so you can actually also find a link to that in our on our video. If not, all links will be provided in the description section. Right, so we'll have to expose this. It's on port 8080. So we have to be able to expose this port and then the IP to the well. So go ahead and do that. So first is that we'll go to our Jenkins pipeline, our Jenkins server. Pipeline is actually like the script, and then the server is just is a server. So just like a database has content inside and tables. So yeah, so let's just proceed. So first things is that I would say SSH. Let's just unfortunately I can't copy and paste from my terminals. No, so so first of all let's know the IP address. The IP address is 187. Is it the same as Jenkins? Yeah, 187. So that's the IP address. Well, that's the host address. So we'll go ahead and see that SSH minus P 443 and then so 0 we are going to do 127. We're exposing 192 dot 168 dot 0 dot 187. That's what we're exposing on port 8080 4300 192.168 dot 0 dot 187 port 8080 QR at dot pb. So that's what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and hit enter. Yes, so our URL is up. So let's copy HTTPS. We don't want anybody to. Oh, I put the donation. Let's do it again. So we'll type it. So we'll go ahead and type the. So we'll go to HTTPS. Alright. 154.161.165.176.a.3.pg.link. Then Jenkins has a endpoint that you have to call. So that endpoint, if you don't provide that endpoint, Jenkins will not be able to get your request. And I think it has to be GitHub receive. Alright, let's just for that we just confirm. So Jenkins endpoint from Git window. So GitHub webhook rather. So let's just copy it. webhook. So not receive that webhook. If that you get 404, the path will not be found. The server will not understand that path. All right, let this be successful. Then we'll look at that. So uh, it's all up. Everything seems to be fine. Is everything right? Let's just check. Okay. Then we say active and push is okay. The default is okay. The trigger is on push event. Yeah. So we just go ahead and say add webhook. Fantastic. So the webhook has been added. So now GitHub client can speak to the Jenkins server on this endpoint, all because Jenkins is running on port 8080. And we've explained why Jenkins is running on port 8080 because we've installed Jenkins and we've set up Jenkins, and Jenkins is a server which is running on port 8080. Right, just the same way your application also runs on the port, Jenkins too is running on the port, and your application is also a server because it's going to listen to it, it's going to receive a request from you're going to receive a request from a client and do a processing and give you a response. All right, so once this is fine, that is fine. The next bit is what's the bit that says the pipeline script. That's the next bit. And that bit is the Jenkins file. So it says pipeline script from SCM. So our SCM must have a pipeline script. As it stands now, our SCM doesn't have a pipeline script. So we have to have a pipeline script. And writing the pipeline script, as we said, it comes down to the documentation. So you being able to understand the documentation and create a Jenkins file. So you have to be able to do that. It explains what's going on. And all this is being written with the Groovy programming language. And we looked at how we even got here. All right, so we'll go ahead. I have a pipeline script already. We'll do a reuse, but we'll change it a little bit. So this is what we have already. So this is a little bit of what goes into writing that. If you're wondering how this was done, um, you should just go to the guided tour and follow suit, create your first pipeline and get started. If you don't find anything there from the reading, you may want to see it's all tutorials. So you want to go to Jenkins Pipeline and find something that will help you with regards to what you want to do. So it says using build tools. So you can go with okay, build a Java app, then you read what it says, then you get started. So is everything's under the tutorials section. So you step into it gradually. If you don't get enough, check other um, links. But everything should be under tutorials because it says tutorials, and this is user handbook. The user handbook is different from tutorials, and this is resources. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and pick our Jenkins file. Let's pick our Jenkins file from this application. And we created a directory for it, so we'll drop it in the Jenkins directory. All right. So we've been able to do that. And once that is done, let's actually open that file that we need, not the one that was already there. So we'll go here and open it. Fantastic. So we have a build stage and it has a number of steps that has to be fulfilled. We have a deploy stage. We also have processes that has to be fulfilled. There are steps here, and you also have the end stage and process that has to be fulfilled. Then you can add another stage to it if you want. You can add any other stage. If you have a testing stage too, you can add your own testing stage too as well. So anything that regard that goes into um, continuous integration, continuous deployment of delivery of your delivery and deployment of your application. You can actually do that with a Jenkins script. So it's an automation server. So the key thing you want to take away is that it's an automation server. And then aside it being an automation server, it's also it's also responsible for the CI/CD. So it's mostly an open source automation server. Yeah, so to automate all sorts of tasks relating to building, what it supports, testing, and delivery, or deploying. So this is what it supports. So yeah, so you may want to take your time and look into that. Yeah, so user documentation, user handbook, tutorials, and resources. All right, so with that said, and with that understood, let's go to our Jenkins file and let me just make some changes here. So when I come to my deploy stage, I want to change the file I'm expecting. Here is expecting a WAR file. I don't want to expect a WAR file. I want to expect a jar file. The reason is that um, it won't be deployed as a WAR file. We've explained that already. It go as a jar. So I want us to look for this file, that snapshot file, or this. If you think this is too long, you can actually change the name so that you don't get confused. So you want to select this file. So you should go pick the name. Um, you can actually type all this, but if you don't like that, you also have to be able to extract that from the from Maven. We are doing that with this command. So that's what helps us to get a name and then the version. Right. So we do is copy um for that we have to copy the name and the version. So we copy the name and also copy the version. So it's going to be name and version and add a snapshot to it. All right. So copy name, copy version and snapshot. And once you copy that, we'll deploy it into our app server. So what's all these commands? So all these commands are shell commands. Remember, when we're doing manual deployment, most of the time, once you have our file like this, we copy and then we go to the app server. That's as a WAR file, especially as a WAR file. We go to the app server, and then when we go to the app server, we do our deployment. So you come to Windows, program files, and we do our deployment over here. So this is where we do our deployment in the web apps. Then we drop it. If you are going to do that on a remote server, that's on a server that is not in your domain, you may actually have to SSH first to the server. Once you're able to SSH to that server, then you can copy the file here. And even with that approach, there's a manager approach that we looked at, but the manager approach may not favor you sometimes, but you want to go by a crude way. The crude way is what we are looking is what is also available. And we've looked at this for in the VM's course, so you can actually find a link to that too as well, and the link to the manual deployment. So we've looked at that already. So that's what we are doing. So we'll do an SSH first. Then we'll go and look for if what we are going to deploy already exists over there. If it already exists, we want to remove it or kill it. We want to remove the process first. If it doesn't exist, we want to copy it there. Then once it's done, we want to start the application. So these are little commands that we have doing over and over, but manually, like Maven clean Maven package that we've been typing. And if you want to take it over to the remote server, you want to do an SSH first. Then you want to actually copy it. So you may also want to do a secure copy first, but whatever approach you go with, you should be able to remove the file. And if you go with one approach and it doesn't work, you should still find a solution around it. Then once you do that, you have two commands you are using here that most of the time you see, but you don't use it. Awk and xarg. Awk because I want to be able to get the output from the Java um I want to get the output of the IP that the application is running on. That's when we do a Java run or a Java jar. So I want to be able to know that if I say Java jar and I start the application, any port is running on. I want to be able to know that port. So I'll take that port with a grep. So this is list all the files that are running on this port. Grep it with the title Java. I'll process it into a file. Then I'll say awk should print it for me with the awk script or command. Then when I get that PID, that process ID, I pass it as an input to xarg for xarg to what kill the process. So awk takes one command and it just does more of text formatting of printing of or processing or manipulation. But xarg2 is going to take this another command, but it's still going to take this as input to its function or program. Then it's going to kill the process for me. So that's just a crude way I found that was found from our research to help us with our work. Yeah. So then if we are done, we want to put it into no hacker, that's background. So these are Linux commands that you want to know about. So just go ahead and repeat what you are doing over here. Okay. Okay, so we've made changes to our Jenkins file. Sorry, we made changes to our Jenkins file. I think you are ready to go ahead and test if it will build successfully or not. So everything is approved. Let's just be sure of the port that Jenkins is running on. Not Jenkins, but this server is running because we don't want to confuse the Jenkins port on 8080 with the default Tomcat web port that has been provided for us. Because the default Tomcat web port normally runs on port 8080 as a Jenkins server. So we have to change port here for this application. So it listens on a different port. So this is on 8085, which is perfect. We don't have an issue with that. Alright, so I think we're ready. So let's go ahead and now commit. So as we've explained, the SCM principles, once you commit, you should go ahead and build our file for us with our pipeline. So this is actually our pipeline. So this is the pipeline. And this is what's going to do the full building, testing, and deployment and delivery. And this is a script you have to write. Alright, so we write it once, we struggle once, and then we use it forever. And we just update or modify or enhance it. So let's go ahead and push this. So Jack is done with his work. We've installed the pipeline. The DevOps engineer gave us a pipeline file. Now all we need to do is we need to use the file and deploy our code. So we say git add, we say git commit, install Jenkins pipeline. We say git push origin master. So once we hit this, client GitHub has to speak to Jenkins Server. So let's monitor our webhook. Good. So our webhook has acknowledged that it has received a request, which means that Jenkins has received that request. So let's go to Jenkins and check and see if Jenkins acknowledged it. So we go to pipeline. Let's see. We didn't check any. Good. So it's building. Fantastic. So this is very good. This is good news because once it starts building like this, which means that our work is almost done. So we're actually building our source code. Yeah, so let's just look into it. Let's just be curious. Still building. Let's just So yeah, let's see. Let's get this in progress. So let it spin for a while, then we'll get our information. So says is it ready now? Good. Oh, why did I replay it? Oh, I don't want to spoil my. Okay, I didn't click anything. Yeah, so let's go console output now. So we actually see what's happening now. What's going on? So it's checking out our code, getting our script, then it's going to go ahead and do the deployment. So you can look at the status of it as to what is happening. If you're not okay with the status, you can also check how the pipeline is behaving. You can look at the steps, pipeline steps, and that's the start of the pipeline. There's also another view that I want us to look at. Um, pipeline overview. Yeah, pipeline overview. Check out the SEM build. So we're actually at the build stage and we have the end stage too as well. So that's just it's like if you want to go ahead, you can actually go deeper, read more, find more, and know more pipeline steps. You can look at the pipeline steps or you can look at the console output. I prefer the console output. The condenser is actually building just as we did with Maven Clay. It's actually doing everything for us. And key to note is that Jenkins also may require you to have certain dependencies already installed. So if you don't have Maven installed on the app server, it may not, it's most likely that it will not work. I don't also think if it has been made possible that Jenkins comes pre-installed with some artifacts that you can use or some plugins you can install. It helps assist your work so you don't do all the work if it doesn't have it. It should be able to have some uh, innate or some native dependencies. So it's actually building just the same thing we did with our IDE when we are doing the Maven clean. It's actually doing the same thing for us, but it's doing it in a nicer way. It's taking that burden away from us. So if it's deployed, you will know if it's deployed successfully or not. So it's still building, it's still getting ready. As we are still in the build phase. We are still building our application. And once it's done to deploy, they will test from our server and see what it says. Let's just let's just close this. Don't let us look at the output. Let's just wait and see what the status will be like. Right, so let's just go to uh, yeah, first output. Let's look at the status. So let's just wait. Let's see what it will say. If you want to be inquisitive, you can actually so the build field. Wow, we have to find out why the build field. So it's actually from the source. It's not. It seems it has databases. So it's actually not from the pipeline, which is good. So it's actually no, it's not from the pipeline. It's not the pipeline's fault. It's the code fault. All right. So it's a code issue. It's a code issue, and it's coming from we probably having some database that are not. So let's go ahead and remove this. So the build field. So let's go ahead and get rid of anything that we do not need. That's the website. The website. So we have our the XML file here. We definitely need a website. Yeah, we definitely need our database too, because we can't read our objects if we don't have our database. Hmm. So it comes over here, it checks in the dev profile, it sees all these connections, and there are no connections over there too. So what it means is that we have to install a database on our app server so that it can read the information that we need. So it's saying connection refused. Or better still, what we can do is that because our VMs are connected in a bridge mode, we can actually give it the same localhost. So it's in a bridge mode. So what we can do is that when we deploy it on the server, we can tell the server to speak to this instance. So let's use the IP address here for this machine. This should also work because it's in a bridge mode. So let's find the IP address for our personal machine. The bridge mode is one of the virtual machines IP address mode. We've looked at this too in our VM class. As with networking of VMs. So see, so we say, sorry, we say IP config and all. Sorry, IP config all. I'm not getting it. Let's open a CMD from here rather. IP config all. Right, so we use this IP address. Let's use this IP address. Let's use not the IP 192 instead of localhost. It says connection refused, so let's use this because it's on localhost. Fantastic. All right, then let's go ahead and push and see what we get. But this supposed it has to work because I put it on bridge. It's in bridge mode. Point TPIP to point it to public IP. No, it's not public. Private IP in bridge. Git push origin master. Okay, so our pipeline to kick in again, and then we receive another request over here. Then let's go to our pipeline and check what's going on. So it's building again. This is very interesting. This is very interesting. So you can feel the automation that's taking place. So let's leave it for a while, let it build. You can check our console output. So it's not checking out, then it will give us a response. So it even says obtain Jenkins file, which is good news. Let's leave it to build and let's wait for our response. So basically that's it with the CI/CD process or DevOps culture. The ability to have a Jenkins server which helps you in your automation process. If it's still complaining, then we have to open ports. So we are still trying to build our project. We are still waiting to build our project. So it's building. Our project is building. So when we are able to do this successfully, what we do next is to as it is. Let's wait for it to be done. When we're able to do that successfully, what we do is that now we add our payment bits to it. That's it. That's the requirement that is required, that there should be a payment option for mobile money aside going with the card payment. So that requirement will also be fulfilled. And so David and Stacy probably have already started working on that because the code is in the repo. And we are this journal just trying to do his deployment. All right. So we had a failure again. So let's see what the issue is. So it's connection attempt failed. Okay. It didn't complete. It didn't say refuse. It said failed. Let's see if we have another refuse. We actually search um, connection timed out. Connection timed out. All right. So let's do this. So let's go to our app server and let's see if we can reach our VM. If we can reach our database from our app server. So this boils down to our networking tools again. Yeah, so we're in circular dependency. So what we are trying to do is that we want to ping 192.168.0. Let's confirm. Dot 197. First of all, let's see if we can reach it via ping. That's good. Is there a response? Let's see if we get a response. 192.168.0.197. Okay, let's wait a while. Yes, no, I don't receive any packets. Okay, so that's true. Assistant packet received. 100 packet lost. We didn't see any response, so I don't take it to be successful. Alright, so to also do the let's do this. So let's do a direct on it, but I'm not seeing any packet response. On it 192.168.0.197. You go with the ports for the database. Business PostgreSQL. So go 5432. 5432. So it says trying, which means that it's not able to reach you from the box. So also check firewall and see. No, there's nothing coming. So let's check our firewall. So, so it's been allowed. So let's allow. Hmm, let's allow 5432. Let's go with this. So sudo. But the issue is I can't reach the box. So we'll do a curl request to it. So let's do a curl request to 192.168.0.197. And we know that uh, we have a Tomcat instance here. So let's have Tomcat rerunning. And let's see if we can just reach Tomcat, just a Tomcat index page. Let's call Tomcat again. So it's loading. So let's start it on port 88, just 88 for this. Right, so we'll go ahead and do a curl to that. Got 80, 80. Yeah. It seems you okay, so I get your response. Is this 403 forbidden? Yeah, which is fine. It's a login page, which is good, which is very good. So the curl works perfectly. So which is very good because it's a login page. So to even make it safer, let's actually run the website only on local instance and let's see if we can reach any endpoint or if there's an endpoint we can just um, reach out to. Let's just create something simple here. Let's just do a get mapping. We'll call this one. Let's do pink. And then we'll go with publish looping. So nothing. Right, so we've added an endpoint. So let's start this web application and we'll reach it from our app server. So it says no entry for host 192.168 user Postgres. Okay, so what this is saying is that it seems it's not understanding the IP address here that we are using. Hmm. Alright, so what we'll do is that we will let's see how to solve this quickly. So it says it was for this entry was I think it's coming from a host it's a host file issue. It doesn't know the IP address. Right, so let's go to this file. Let's search for it. Postgres file. I think it only understands 127 and localhost, so it doesn't know this IP, and which makes sense because the router was what assigned the IP. It's not from the system. So we go to Postgres. Let's go to Google Files. Let's search for Postgres. Answer Progress. Let's look for that file. Let's just try search here. Yeah, let's try the location. What's for share? It's way across. Yeah, so let's go to data. So phone file. Let's actually um, it will analyze because the list results. Okay, so let's go to data. Let's change it. Let's make some updates. So we'll do show more options and we see edit in notepad. Let's do edit in notepad plus. All right, so it tells you it gives you a lot of some configurations that we can do. So we want to understand address. So we have to add the address we want to understand here. All right, so local or host or local or host or. All right, so what we'll do is that we will change. If we want to allow non-local, we want to change some of them. So as for host records. So let's change the first one that we know. Let's change this one. I just need a sample twice. Wow. Yeah. Right. if this is going to give you issue, we'll look for another way back. Let's just proceed. So let's get the IP address. So it's 192.1.1. That's .197. So let's just do it. 192.168. Dot 197. Let's use that as the host. We didn't see it in local. And this for IP version 6. We're not using IP version 6. This for IP version 4 host. And then you come here to change it to as well. The subnet mask for this should be one of those default subnet masks. That's the Sida notation. This time we'll comment it because okay, let's do that. Let's just comment it because it can cost a lot. Let's change it. No, I drop business. Let's lift it again. Just go ahead and paste it. Alright. I'm struggling to remember the the subnet marks. That is the notation of the subnet marks I have over there. Get focus. Alright, so we are good to go. No, this one, let's comment it. So, copy this. Alright, so these are the changes we made. So it understands this. Right, so we made these changes. So let's go ahead and let's run our application again. Alright, so we are starting our application once again. The database connection that we're having issues. This could not load this file. Okay, let's close the file. Try to show the file. We added don't believe that because of the formatting I did, it changed something. Let's don't believe that. Okay, there's an issue here. Didn't right, so let's go ahead. Because it's supposed to be the number of items to suspect. Let's start it again. Still could not load the file. Right, so So we have an issue. So perhaps we just before yeah, we have an issue. Let's close the file because it's couldn't load. Let's close the file and let's try again. Still could not load the file. Wow. So I think it's because of the way we formatted the file. It's not really able to. It needs some other details to be able to do this successfully. Okay, so what we'll do is that we have to host or let's try and get the subnet mask for this. Let's add the subnet mask for that. And aside that, and also this add this entry too. So let me just get that online. So go to so cedar 4255.255.255.0. So it's 24. Well, let's do 24. So let's add 24 here. Let's add 24 here as well. Host or okay. So host has been resolved. That's for application, I'm not doing for application. So host or it has been resolved here. Alright, so now let's try again. Let's actually the file is open, let's just close it. Let's try again. If not, we'll find another way of connecting to the database because we want to demonstrate our Jenkins pipeline. So run this Java application. Yeah, so that was the issue. The issue was with the CEDA because we didn't provide the CEDA notation. So it has actually started on this spot. We were able to fix it in the host file. So now let's go ahead and um, let's okay. So when we come to our app server to we have an it seems we can't reach it. We can't reach the same IP address from here, which is not supposed to be the case because it's supposed to be reachable. But we did try. Let's do a kill. Right, so we actually wanted to start so we can see if we can reach a kill from the box. So let's go ahead and let's do this. Let's start the app again. Then let's see if we can read the kill response from the Spring Boot financial application. Alright, so we need to test the endpoint. So let's do kill and IBK, which are all flags. You do 192.168.0.197. You will just go to ping. Let's put 80, sorry. Let's do to put 80. Let's get the port right. It's 8085. If I'm yeah, 8085. Then ping. Just so it's good. At least it's good. It means that we can reach our box from here, which is perfect because it was able to go there. It tells you response is 500 because it's not a template, and we understand that because we are not using a REST controller, right? Using a controller. That's because it's a web app creates dynamic build, which is very understandable. And it's even showing in our trees here too, which means that we're able to reach our application. So it's showing our logs, which is perfect. So let's go ahead and push the code again and let's build our pipeline again. Let's check. So git add, git commit, just see add ping endpoint. Do git push origin, then master. So initiating or kicking process, the CI/CD process. So this is just one. We've added an endpoint, and we are just using the CI/CD pipe principles on with guidance from the SCM to check our deployment. You realize that it has registered another request. Let's go to our pipeline. It's building again. So let's leave it. Let's leave it to build. Then we'll come and check the response later. All right. So basically, that's it for the whole DevOps principles. We are just trying to fix the issue with the database. Once that's fixed, we should be able to see that we are okay with our CI/CD principles. So let's check our console output. Let's see what's going on. Don't have database issues again. We've also allowed ports too. Sorry. So as you can see, it's trying to build our software for us. It's trying to run tests as well. But there are no, we don't really have tests. If we had tests too, we could add tests to it too. And it does everything for us on the server, the Jenkins server. So this time around, test. So we are monitoring everything from our Jenkins server. But we've already written our code already, and we are just allowing the server to build our process for us. So I think we had another failure. So let's check and see what the issue is this time around. There's a C mode connection timed out. And it says connection attempt failed. You couldn't reach our database. Okay, so 543 reports the files. 543 reports says connection timed out. Connection timed out. Okay, so this is what we do. We'll try. This is connection attempt failed. Unable to open JDSB connection for the DDL execution. Can open your connection to the database. And is there any other information that we can use to solve this? Aside that, let's see. It says connection timed out. Let's see. And it says connection attempt failed. So it seems there's an issue with the server, the VM reaching its connection attempt, connection timed out. Right. Well, this is what we'll do. Let's let's telnet again. Telnet. The approach we are going to is scratch pots. Okay, let me telnet to 8080. Let's do a telnet to 8080 first. 8080 says connected, which is good. So then we don't have an issue with 8080. Right, so let's check the ports. Let's check the ports for uh, uh, database. So I'm trying to, let's go to our ID. This is 543. Port 5432. Port 5432. Let's check on our server too. Let's see what the response will come with this port. So you don't usually know with the server. The server is responding, but the port that is not responding. So 5432. 5432. So you see the port is not up. So that's what the issues is saying. It's saying that the port is not up. Because they are trying to reach it. It's not say it says trying. So let's do this. Let's open port from our Windows side and we'll check again. So let's open port from our Windows side and we'll check again.